Welcome to Creatives in Quarantine. I'm Tiwana Floyd, your host. This week, I talked to Gloria Coco, a retired Cook County judge and prosecutor, as well as an actor. Gloria believes age is irrelevant and that life boils down to passion and reinvention. She'll talk about the art of rhetoric and the similarities between being a prosecutor and an actor. Welcome to Creatives in Quarantine, Gloria Coco.
Well, I have to tell you, I did do, they say that people on the average gain 5 to 15 pounds. Yeah. And it was like, I would get up and walk every morning, have a cup of coffee. I'm telling you something, I have decided at this point in my life, I would do that just to stay sort of fat. I mean, you work out just to stay sort of fat because at this point in your life, your body has a mind of its own. Yeah. You can do all the things and eat right, do this and do that. So anyway, but I try to, keep busy and like everybody,
Right. No, the same here. At the top of it, I remember going to Trader Joe's like those first couple of weeks, and all of the snacks were sold out. And we were there for like vegetables and things like that. So there was an abundance of that, and we were able to get what we needed, but we still ate like a lot of sugar, a lot of salty snacks.
Did you get enough toilet paper?
You know how long it takes me to go through toilet paper? I think that's... I had plenty of toilet paper to start with.
I gotta tell you, the one thing I did look out at, this was about 2 weeks before this happened. I went to Target, and because the world changed on Friday, March 13th, right?
Yeah.
So it was about the beginning of March, end of February. I happened to be in Target, and they had like Clorox swabs, and you heard about something was going on, and it was just a little smattering of it.
Right. Yeah.
And they had shelves of Clorox wipes, like the 3-in-1 little wrap-around little package.
Right.
And then they had sprays. And for some reason, I didn't get one. I got 2.
Okay.
And I got all this, well, I'll take one of these. Oh, well, you never know. And then, boom, they were like missing. No one could get anything. I still have a 3-pack in my shelf.
It's a secret. It's like prohibition.
Not my address either. No.
Oh my goodness. No, it's the same thing, in June, I did a 30-day, no sugar, no carb fast because I was starting to feel achy, and I knew it was like from the heaviness of the food or whatever. And so I feel like I reset my system by doing that. So
you cook a lot?
What's that?
Did you get married?
No.
Wait, you said, are you living with somebody?
I am, yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, we were together before this started, and then the quarantine really fused. I think the quarantine, because I don't know if you heard about in China, as the coronavirus was starting to alleviate and lift, a lot of the divorce rate went skyrocket because they can go that day and go to a government office and file papers, but as soon as it started to loosen up, a lot of those couples started to divorce because
like I said, we saw that in family violence. It was very predictable. They were letting a lot of people that were in jail, offenders who had what they thought was minimum type of charges, possession case or something that, they didn't need to be in jail for that. Let them out, and you were like, okay. Yeah. But when you're in shelter, this is like it's growing the groundwork for domestic violence cases to spike.
Let's talk about this because people don't know who you are or what you do. I know you as an actor, but you have several careers, and right now you're talking about the law because you were a prosecutor in Chicago for, was it Cook County?
Cook County. I was a prosecutor for 5 years for the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, for 5 years for the Illinois Attorney General, a little bit for the city of Chicago. Then I got on the bench. And I was on the bench for 17 years. 10 of it, I was the supervising judge for all the domestic violence courts for the city of Chicago.
Got it.
What I'm teaching now at law school. But see, when I was on the bench, Tiwana, I went back to school. It took me 10 years, but I graduated with a degree from Northwestern in radio, TV, film. And that's how I catapulted into getting into the acting. So when I retired from the bench, I did that full time because that was always my passion. I wanted to major in theater. I minored in it in college, and I wanted to major in it. And Sister Mary Holywater was like,
That's not a real thing.
No. What are you going to do with a theater degree?
Right.
Because I was going to be a teacher, which is an honorable profession, we know.
Right.
But that theater thing never left me. So, I remember my mom used to say, to be a lawyer is to be an actor, the art of rhetoric, which is true, but it's not, So I remember when I was going to law school, I went to Second City. I worked with Del Close for a while.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that was in the 70s, I'm aging myself. But it was when I finally got on the bench, I thought, well, I'm not going to go anywhere for a while. I took one class, then two, then after the fourth one, I decided to matriculate through the system and get the degree I always wanted to get.
But
so
what made you choose law?
Pardon me?
What made you choose law?
My dad was a lawyer.
Ah.
My dad, in fact, this is kind of interesting. He graduated from the law school. I'm teaching an adjunct professor now. It's IIT, Illinois Institute of Technology, Chicago, Kent College of Law. My dad graduated from there in 1931.
Oh, wow.
Little did he know his youngest daughter, and my dad was old country Sicilian, so he didn't think necessarily education was necessary for a woman.
For women.
Little did he know, 90 years later, your daughter is at your school. It kind of comes full circle, Yeah. Women, because women, you look at his graduating class from 31, there weren't women. We've been empowered through the ages, and it isn't that, long ago that we didn't come into ourselves and what we want to accomplish as women, as directors, even the women in film. You think about in the industry, we are making our mark, but I'm sure even in the law, we've had to, we paid our dues. I remember when I had my job as prosecutor, my boss, maybe he was like, tongue in cheek, but he said, do you realize you're taking the job of some man who's married with 3 kids?
Wow.
It was 1981.
Right. Oh my gosh, that was 1981? Sheesh.
But you know what? It thickened our skin. We, grew, which is great because when you get into the industry as an actor, I have found that one of the things you have to learn to embrace is rejection. You must embrace it. It's a learning process. It's what, use an audition as you're an actor. That's what you do. You audition.
Yeah.
And if you get a call back, that's as good as booking it. And that's how you got to feel about it, because, it's a real process that, that you have to believe in yourself and understand there's a lot of different variables of why you get a call back, why you don't, why you book it, and lean into it and just embrace it for what it is.
Yeah.
And
sorry to cut you off. Continue.
No.
Well, speaking of believing in yourself, I think it takes a lot of chutzpah to be a lady prosecutor in the 80s. What was in you to say that I can do that? And I know that your dad was a lawyer, but what really was the pull? Because there had to have been something for you, and then for the discipline that you focused on is very specific also.
2 things.
Yeah.
This is true. The nuns and my mother. I'm a parochial, okay? So I don't know. And I went to Catholic grammar school, high school, college, and they taught you discipline.
Yeah.
And you don't really understand or recognize that, I think, until you know that, hey, this is about you. No one is going to get this done unless you do it. But my mother was amazingly instrumental. I remember when I was teaching, I was a teacher for the Chicago Board of Education for 8 years. I taught primary grades.
Oh, wow.
And I after the 3rd year and I remember I used to go on auditions with a body politic in Chicago. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Because I didn't, at that time, I had not really taken any formal acting class in Chicago. But I had it just was that pulling at my sleeve. I think that started, I think I wrote you that my mother sent me to dancing school when I was 3 years old.
Okay.
And she sent me to the Ethel and Gertrude dancing school. So my whole life growing up in Chicago was dancing school. By the time I was 10, I danced on Bozo's Circus, Lunchtime Little Theater. But I didn't know what I was doing when I was 9 years old. I jumped out of a pumpkin on the Lee Phillips show. That was Channel 2. So you don't know, you're a kid. But so it was always kind of tugging at my sleeve, I think, just there. So I did some stuff in high school. And like I said, when I got to college, I wanted to major it. And then Sister Mary Holyover was no, no, no. And then I became a teacher, which is a great honorable profession. I'm still doing it. But I remember one morning, I was late. The 8:30 bell rang. And I was like 8:35. And the principal called me in her office. And she said, you know, I know you go to school, but you got to get here on time. Just roll out of bed a little earlier because you got to be here on time. So then she said to me, and anyway, why are you going to law school? But by the time you get finished, what, you're going to be 28? You're going to be like, aren't you the oldest one in the class? Because if you went to law school right out of college, you'd graduate about when you're 25.
Right.
That
You can have a family.
Yeah. That weekend I went home and my mother was doing my wash because no one does your wash like your mother. And I said to my mom, you know, maybe this law school isn't such a good idea. I mean, you know, because I had no time at that time for myself. And I said, you know, Miss Ryan, she pulled me in. I was late. She pulled me into the office and she even said to me, you know, why am I going to law school? I'm going to be 28 by the time I graduate. My mother looked at me like, Gloria, you're going to be 28 anyway. Why not be 28 and a lawyer?
Ooh.
Which is what got me to be, I'm going to be 40 something anyway. Why not be 40 and be a jurist? I'm going to be 54 anyway. Why not be 54 and get the degree I always wanted to get?
I love that, Gloria. What a great philosophy for life.
So that was my mom, Graziella Maninici Pappalardo Coco, who was a Sicilian immigrant.
Yeah.
You know, but education was very important to her. And I mean, she was raised by her older sister and her sister's husband in Chicago, and they made her go to work when she was 16 years of age.
Yeah.
My Uncle Frank, who's married to my mother's older sister, sent back to Sicily to get his sister's birth certificate. My mother was 14, but he got the birth certificate that said she was 16. And my mother made lampshades at Nicolina Vinci's lampshade shop for $1 a day. So that's why, you know, she went back to school and got her degree. So she was like, hey, time out. Age is irrelevant.
Oh.
You're going to be, you know what, it's true. So that's really what made me continue, and you sort of reinvent yourself. Whatever goal you have, ages are, you're going to be that age anyway. Don't bury what's in your heart and your passion. Right. And even at this point with acting, Tiwana, you can be an actor at any age. I know we see the young actors, but you know what? It's changing too.
That's right.
You know, I mean, like I remember when I got my first audition for a Depends commercial, I was like, what?
I don't.
Why?
How dare you?
I'll take it.
Exactly. Wait, commercial? Okay, all right.
You know, the way of the world. So you just reinvent yourself and keep yourself healthy, especially now and where we are. And you know, and you know what? This is great because I've seen your face and your nose and your mouth and your smile, and you know, it's not just, you know, but we have to do so we can get back to seeing that live.
Yeah, I was thinking about the last time I saw you was at Starbucks, which I called my office, the Starbucks underneath the SAG-AFTRA building.
Right.
Has always been my space before there were like these work share spaces, because I could just go there and it wasn't very populated. But anyway, you had come in and it was just a nice time. And we didn't spend a lot of time getting to know each other because how long were you in LA for?
3 years.
3 years. I believe we met in Christine Aller's mastermind group. I think that's where we met.
Yes.
or through
The
Dawn's
power,
Oil, or a combination of both.
I wrote that down too. Was it in a power group?
I think it was in. I think that's what it was.
I remember I had a conversation with you prior to that about some type of a Chicago connection. I don't know, but I know we were in the power group together.
That's
And I remember you helped me at, there was some type of a one sheet, what do they call that?
yeah.
And I went over to your apartment and you were helping me put that together. What's called a one sheet?
Yeah, that's right. We designed, yeah, my company, yourvisualaid.com. Yes, we designed your one sheet. But then shortly thereafter, you left. So
You know
what
why I left? You know why?
No, why'd you leave?
Well, I hope this isn't too much information.
Absolutely not.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
I did not know that.
And what happened was I was going along singing the song, went in for my regular mammogram every year,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very lucky. It was stage 1, no lymph node involvement. And I had the most phenomenal doctor in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
Christy Funk.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to tell you, that was 2012. And California, because it was like, do I stay in California? Do I come back to Chicago?
Mm-hmm.
But they talked me to staying. And you guys in California, your medical technology is so progressive.
That's what I tell my mother all the time.
You were light years ahead of what they were doing in Chicago.
Yeah.
So, like Christy Funk, I qualified for this type of radiation called mammocyte. They didn't have it in Chicago at the time. So my radiation, instead of being 6 weeks, it was 1 week, but I drove myself to St. John's Hospital at 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon for 1 week.
Wow.
And I've been cancer-free, since 2012.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what happened was I just wanted to come home.
Understood.
And I didn't do anything in the industry
Mm-hmm.
for, I think it was almost close to 2 years. And then come on, Gloria, get going. And I had an agent here.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was a gal that was a wonderful agent here, and she was somewhere else. And I was able to get into a great agency here in Chicago, Grossman Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And, but I still have Central Artists. They're terrific in LA. So they're wonderful. So, it was, but that my husband, fell in love with Los Angeles. We had a commuter marriage. I mean, what happened was I came out to LA in like 2009 and did like a boot camp. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the boot camp, you did like a little showcase.
Right.
And if you got a call from an agent, oh, okay. So I did this thing for a week, and then I went up and was visiting my family in Northern Cal. Mm-hmm. And the California Pizza Kitchen with my 8-year-old godson, and the phone rings. Hi, we saw you. We'd like to represent you. Well, I live in Chicago. Well, you got to live in LA. When you get to LA, let us know. Okay. My husband, I went home to Chicago. I said, I got to go. I got an agent in LA. Got to go. So we had a commuter. I came out. I rented a little studio. Mm-hmm. And my husband coming out, of course, he fell in love with Yogurtland. I think
Yogurtland is special.
So that's why I remember when I was moving home, he had this, I'm packing the boxes, and he had this puss on his right. I said, aren't you glad I'm coming home? No. Well, yeah, but we're losing our LA connection, which is why bringing up to the present, he's thrilled, So he's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We get to go to my father's office, and not only that. Do you ever have a hamburger at my father's office?
Yes, their burgers are really good.
They will not give you ketchup to put on.
They will not. I was just going to say that. They will not give you ketchup. The chef finds it offensive.
That's right.
Ask for ketchup because he's made it so that it's decadent and delicious and juicy. And how dare you ask for ketchup? And they will not give you ketchup.
I don't even think they give you ketchup for the fries. I don't think they have ketchup.
I don't think they have ketchup. They purposely don't have it. Yeah, but the burger is delicious.
Oh, one of a kind.
The burger is delicious. So while you were in LA, because you did work. You had
Yeah,
some great opportunities.
I did.
And I remember my favorite show at the time, and still is in like my top 10 favorite of shows, was Southland.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah. I was booked a judge role on Southland.
which
Uh,
you fit perfectly.
thank you.
But I mean, like, of course you have that background, but I mean, in the world of what was happening, it was legitimate.
I'll tell you, you can be a judge, you can do this for your life, but when you are that character,
Hmm.
you draw upon, of course, what you bring to that role,
Yeah.
but you still are that character. So it's not like, oh, this is a slam dunk. There's a comfort level there.
Mm.
Like, I do have something coming up that I'm thrilled about.
Can you talk about it?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
sure. Let's share.
It's a new Amazon episodic called Utopia, written by Gillian Flynn.
Mm-hmm.
We did Gone Girl and Sharp Objects and Widows.
Mm.
So
Great shows.
I booked a reoccurring guest star role. We shot it last summer, and
Mm-hmm.
my character is an FDA agent.
Mm.
Um, her name is Tony Tambler. But I was blessed. I booked this role, and the scenes are with John Cusack, and many of them with John Cusack and Rainn Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
It was shot in Chicago,
Oh,
it's
great.
space, and then a couple locations here. So interestingly enough, the trailer's up. It's on
Okay.
IMDb Pro, and if you Google Utopia, it pops up with John Cusack and Rainn Wilson. So it's premieres on uh, Amazon Prime on Friday, September 25th.
Okay, great.
So excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, you're for me, I think my instant connection with you is that you felt like a New Yorker to me. Um,
Was
and
it that
maybe,
accent, that Chicago twang?
yeah, but also the Italian part of you. There's so many Italians in New York, and so that's
Yeah.
like another part of family, a part of our melting pot. So immediately I was like, she feels like home.
Oh,
So I was immediately drawn to you. But also the fact that you have this chutzpah, there's this strong, no nonsense, brass tacks, part of you. And then going back to, I don't know if you answered the question, but being how did you choose to be a prosecutor? Like, of all of the disciplines to choose, because a prosecutor is not an easy job, is my
no,
understanding.
no. Um,
Because not everybody can argue a case.
it's the art of rhetoric. And let me tell you, this was very interesting. First of all, I clerked when I was still a teacher. I had passed the bar, but I applied for a job at the state's attorney's office, the cook, and that was 1981. There weren't that many women in the office at that time.
Yeah.
Maybe about 400 prosecutors. There may be 100 women. So
Mhm.
and if you got that job, you were blessed. You were blessed. So I was very fortunate. I had clerked for an attorney who was very supportive, and I would take days off, vacation days when I was a teacher, to
Mhm.
go handle cases for him as a defense attorney in courtrooms around Chicago, gun cases,
Mhm.
felonies, bond hearings, the whole bit.
Right.
And I wouldn't really know what I was doing.
Mhm.
I see a lawyer, excuse me, I got a motion to reduce bond. Can you tell me, how do you do? Yeah, you ask this question. What is he doing? What does he do in the community? Blah, blah, blah. Does he have a background? So you learn,
Yeah.
it's almost a skill set. We as actors, we embrace each other
Yeah.
to perfect what we're doing, right? Okay.
Also
So
asking questions, because that's building the
yes,
characters, asking questions. Yeah.
yes, yes. So I was very fortunate. I was able to get a job at the state's attorney's office. And the first year I was in appeals. So, you would write an appellate brief on the part of the state if defense attorney filed an appeal motion for whatever the reasons were in that brief. You had to respond to them with case law in the appeals division. You wrote up a brief. So I had a number of arguments before the appellate court. I gotta tell you this real cute story. So I had this one argument, and there's three judges there. You walk in, and it's three Supreme Court justices,
Mm-hmm.
or they're appellate court justices, excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother and father came. So I walked in the court because they knew I was doing this oral argument. And Here's my mother in the back row. So I do this argument and I walk back and my mother's got the rosary. The one that was like, you're going to be 28 anyway. You know, there are these three big figures up there, these black robes, and there's my little daughter. And she's, and I'm saying the rosary. I mean, anyway. So, but what I learned after appeals was when I started to work in a courtroom. So every day when you went to work, you didn't go to an office, you were in a courtroom and you had a call. And so I was assigned to the 1st Municipal District, which is coterminous with the boundaries of the city of Chicago. And at the time, the city of Chicago had 13 different branch courts. And you would, go to a different branch court, depending on, 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there. And I remember the first courtroom I was in, someone said, the key is don't listen to yourself talk. Because it's when you listen to yourself.
Which is like acting, don't be in your head.
Exactly.
Wow.
You get nervous. You're nervous.
Yeah.
Don't do that. Just be in the moment, be present, address the case, do the call, do the case, do the trial, just be there. Don't listen to yourself talk because that's what makes you nervous. Mm-hmm. So that was the first thing I learned, but I had great experiences in that office. It taught me a lot. One, I don't know how much you want to talk about this.
Yeah.
But circulating through the system, there was, because you would do misdemeanors, then you go to the felony preliminary hearings, and then you go to this one division called felony review. And I know Los Angeles, whenever you have jurisdictions which have volume, which are dense, like New York, LA, because when I was on the bench and we did domestic violence cases, we did a lot of training on a national basis. And you would share programs, processes, and procedures that you would utilize in Chicago with New York. We go to Brooklyn. We knew the Brooklyn DAs. They'd come to Chicago. Well, what are you doing? How are you handling this? Same thing with Los Angeles, because it's the volume of cases. What made New York a little different is because you have boroughs.
Yeah.
So, but Los Angeles is really, we would share a lot of what we do to do what we do better, So, but in the one division I was in the state's attorney's office was called felony review.
Ooh. And
whenever a crime was committed, be it a rape, armed robbery, homicide, burglary, property crime, you first of all, the shift was 12 hours on, 12 hours off. So it was 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And you do that for 3 days. Then you'd be off 3 days.
Okay,
then
like a nurse.
Switch, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And every time you had a shift, you would go to a different district in Cook County. You would rotate, okay? And what would it be? The detectives would work up a case, armed robbery, homicide, whatever it was. It was a property crime or a violent crime. And you would read all the docs, interview the witnesses, you'd talk to the defendant, and you would try to give a statement, and then you would lodge whatever charges were appropriate for, what was brought before you. So it was the most amazing division. I was there for 17 months. Because sometimes there was movement, because from that division you go to a felony trial court. So it was I have to tell you, I draw upon that experience to this day, because there's no experience I've had as a lawyer, as a prosecutor, like that one.
Yeah. Because
you were first on the scene. You saw a lot of stuff that I would say 99% of the world or your community has not seen, whether it was identifying by, the whole thing.
So with that, so being the person that's first on the scene with violent crimes, like I can watch this all day on television and kind of get an idea, but it will never be like the real thing. So
all that stuff, right?
Yeah. So how did you what kept you from being desensitized? Or were you at times, and then you had to find yourself in humanity or coming back to, especially, being an actor as well, where you have to feel the feelings. How did you balance the two?
Well, as that's interesting because I can tell you it was sort of one experience as a prosecutor and a very different one as a judge.
Oh, okay. Talk about that then, and then we'll go
Yeah.
into the.
So as a prosecutor, you have elements of a crime. So the evidence, the information that the detectives would bring you, you know the elements. So when you review everything, it's probable cause that a crime was committed, and this is the person that committed the crime. And you watch the charge, okay? So you know what those elements are. It didn't desensitize you, but you had a job to do, which was specific,
Mhm.
okay? As a judge, especially in domestic violence court, because I heard those cases for 13 years out of the 17, and I was a supervisor for the 10. It's completely different because if there's one assignment that you can make a difference in someone's life, everyone gets angry. You get behind a car becomes a weapon.
Right.
You may not have to have a gun. You have a weapon, it's your car. Don't think of it that way. Road rage, the whole bit. But as a judge, you're fair. I was fair but firm but sensitive to these issues because that's what domestic violence is about, family violence. Everyone gets angry, but it's trying to help people unlearn learned behaviors.
Ooh.
And then understanding that there's ways to resolve your issues short of violence. And it's not just physical violence. Psychological abuse sometimes is worse than just as bad.
I agree because you can't recognize it. Yeah.
It's drip, drip, drip. And in the middle of the psychological abuse is denial. So some people don't realize you are in that cycle of violence where it's an acute explosion, which is a physical act. And then there's oh, honey, I'm so sorry. It's a honeymoon phase that we go, give me another chance. I'll go get alcohol and drug treatment. I'll go see a counselor.
Right.
I'll go see whatever it is that you're going to do. And then it's tension buildup stage where it's like life is like walking on eggshells because it's dark, so it bubbles up again. And so that cycle continues unless it's broken by someone unlearning a learned behavior, getting help. It takes a lot of times for abuse to happen in a family before someone reaches out, calls for help, calls the police. We could talk about this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But because it's about the dynamics of domestic violence.
Right.
And it's not just men and women and partners and male-female relationships, boyfriends. It's fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, brothers and sisters, sibling rivalry.
Right.
It's the whole gamut of family and household relationships. Now that's just domestic violence. There's types, but that's a whole other.
And then what made you go into the domestic violence component?
An assignment.
Ah.
As a judge, you are expected to hear every type of news.
Yeah.
They want you to diversify. So I started in traffic court. Everyone has it's a new job description.
Yes.
So you learn how to, once again, it was like a prosecutor as an actor. Do your job. Don't listen to, if you listen to yourself talking, and you develop that confidence. And I know that's what a lot of casting directors look for, is that are you confident in your role? Are you, they like, right? Confidence.
Absolutely. Confidence is one of
the one of the questions you had was what have you been doing during the quarantine?
Yeah.
I can tell you, I listened to a lot of how you do self-tapes, what casting directors are looking for, what they, I probably listened to, I swear to God, almost a dozen of them. Yeah. And you hear they want you to be confident. When they know that you're confident, right?
Yes. When they can see it and feel it, yes. You exude it, yeah.
So that character is, it's in your bones. Maybe by the time you shoot it, it's going to be even more in your bones, but it's in your bones.
Yeah.
And they know it's in your bones. They see it's in your bones.
Yeah.
Sort of the same, But I'll tell you, doing these types of cases, is really rewarding, Tiwana, because you can make a difference in someone's life.
Right.
There's such a thing as orders of protection. And, I'll tell you right now, that doesn't prevent another domestic violence homicide from happening.
Mm.
You can have that
Right.
piece of,
Yeah,
and
because that person could still let the other person back into their space or yeah.
everyone wants to love and
Yeah.
be. People want the relationship.
Right.
They want the relationship without the violence.
Right. Yeah.
Like we said before, it's not just physical, it's psychological too, because it's the psychological abuse that usually culminates in the physical
Mm-hmm.
abuse.
Yeah.
And that's what gives power to the physical act, is the psychological.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
I had one brush with having to get an order of protection.
Ah,
A guy that I was dating, and we weren't even together that long, but he always had this exhibited irrational behavior. And then finally, he had broken up with me, and I said, "Okay, fine." And then by the time I got home, he called me back to say, "Let's get back together." And I'm like, "Okay, fine." And then it was like, "Oh, I'm back with my girlfriend." I was like, "You know what? let's let's just call it a wrap and be done with it." And then he called me every day on my house phone and on my cell phone, and I
it's
would never take the
telephone
call.
harassment.
What's that?
Telephone harassment.
Yeah. And because I was fortunate, oh, I know what it was,
Now
because
there's cyber stalking. Go
that
ahead.
was right. It is. I was starting a new job, and when we were together, he knew that I was starting this new job on this particular day, and he showed up. And then that's when I got scared. So I was fortunate because I had a friend, a good friend, whose husband was a New York City detective, and I just spoke to him, and he and his partner went and got him the next morning, and I was just like, oh. Wow, this is, serious.
Right.
But I had kept all of the recordings of him, like micro aggressively threatening me or whatever. And I remember I was going to do, not the order of protection. What's the one that's lesser than that?
Well, there's orders of protection in your juris, in New York. They might call it a protective order, but there was something that they used to call uh,
restraining order.
well,
I was
with the restraining order. See, it's interesting because some jurisdictions, a restraining order could be called a restraining order in your jurisdiction, but it's still an order of protection in another.
right. Yeah.
What it is the same, but the terminology is a little different.
Right.
But
So
was there a timeline on it? Like,
yeah, it was for
remedies on
about it was about a year or two or something like that. And in the interim, I'd moved to LA. But I tell this story because once they went to his house and they had him down at the precinct, they called me to let me know what was going on. And now I had to move forward with it. And I had that moment, that thought where it's like, oh, I can either go ahead and move forward with this, or I can be the type of woman who's like, oh, it's all right, he doesn't mean any harm. And so I had that moment where I had to choose which path I was going to go down. And I said, no, this is a problem. And while I'm safe now, who knows what will happen later.
That's
So
right.
I went on ahead with it.
Good.
And
So he
then I
was
had to,
charged with the crime.
what's that?
Well, he was charged with the crime.
He was charged. He had to go to court. I gotten a call from the assistant DA, which
Yeah.
terrified me because I didn't know why that was happening, but because of the recordings. And at that time, a lot of women were being murdered in New York by their loved one, by their boyfriends. And so they had, I guess, an order to really not take anything lightly. And so I sat with this assistant DA, and he played back the tapes and explained everything to me. And so that was it. And then shortly after that, I moved to LA, and he's tried to reach out to me on social media, and I continuously block him because this is what I said is not okay.
I'm
And so,
telling you, for you,
yes,
because there's a large percentage of complaining witnesses, victims who don't go forward with the charge. And there's a number of reasons why. And what's the key to some of that is economic abuse. A lot of variables and why
right,
they don't go forward. They recant the testimony.
yeah, yeah. Well, fortunately for me, we did not live together, and actually, he didn't know where I lived, so that helped also. But yeah. So I don't know if that helps anybody out there, but I just wanted to bring that up. But I wanted to go back to, so you went back to school for acting. It was the thing that you always wanted to go to school
Yeah.
for. And you went to, was it Northwestern, you
Yes.
said?
Yeah.
How old were you, and what was it like going back to school now after having this full career, although you were still doing it, but what was it like making that decision and then doing it?
Well, I was twice as old as most people in the class. I remember one time I did a scene. I was the nurse in Romeo and Juliet. So the teacher I had, she was fabulous. Ann Woodward, fabulous teacher. When you do the scene, you had to like, just don't do your lines. You create the set. You had to do everything.
Yeah.
So I remember I had this big feast. I got the chicken and like a medieval feast, right? And it was like great because I was feeding all the the students,
Yeah.
It was, but anyway, and that kept you young. It was great, but it didn't deter me in the least bit because I had a passion for it.
Right.
My mother, you're going to be 54 anyway. Why not be 54 with the degree in theater?
That's right. Yeah.
So, but I took 4 classes, like as an evening student, and then after the 4th class, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not going anywhere. I've got a great job. I'm wonderful. I'm blessed with this great responsibility as a jurist, but this is a part of me too.
Yeah.
So, I went back and I saw the dean and I said, I want to go through the system to get this degree. So Northwestern was Northwestern, Charlton Heston went there and Margaret. Meghan Markle graduated the year before me.
Wow.
I think she graduated in 03, I was 04. But, they make you, I had to sit for an exam and do stuff to just matriculate for the system. But it's very intensive, but it was what you loved. So like for every class you had, you'd have to meet with your partner or scene partner and prepare to do the scene every week. And so it was, you didn't have much time, but because you loved it so much, it was your passion. So nothing else gave it competition.
Right.
Your day job, which you love too. So you kind of like did this and you did that.
Yeah.
And, it was like they kind of dovetailed together, frankly.
Yeah, they do. How wonderful that you were able to live in 2 worlds that you love so deeply.
I'm blessed.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask that question because, we never know who's sitting at home watching this, thinking about maybe I'll go back to school. Oh, I'm too old or blah, blah, whatever. And it's like, nope.
Just remember what Graziella Maninici Papalardo said. You're going to be that age anyway.
That's right.
Why not be that age? And whether it's 28, 40, 54.
Right.
I won't say the last one.
That's okay. And then talking about, you spent this time going through self-tapes, and right before this, we were talking about how a lot of your friends who were in your age bracket just like said not doing that. And here in LA, and I have some colleagues who are baby boomers who have been really frustrated by it because for many, many years, all of their career, they've just gone into a room. And so now a lot is being asked of us as it is, but it is what it is. So it's not a complaint. But what is it, do you think, about you that says, this is what it is, let me just immerse myself?
My passion.
Yeah, comes back to passion.
I'm reinventing myself to keep up with what I need to do to enjoy that passion. And whatever it takes. It's always good though to continue to learn.
Yeah.
You want to keep yourself active and use your brain and like even with Zoom, learning what you hit on participants. What's the drop down window tell you to do? What's chat? Yeah. Share screen. Oh my God, record. Wait, reactions. Where's the head? How do I do that? What's the? I was always afraid if I touch something, I would undo it. But you have to learn where the undo button is,
Right.
So, So, I think, you know what? I think it's an individual thing, Tiwana. What's inside of you is is inside of you. Others can share from it. Oh yeah, but maybe it's not inside you. You have another interest, or I think it's just in your DNA.
Mm.
You know, you go back and you look at, sometimes I think of your parents, your grandparents, your ancestors. It's what's in your DNA.
Yeah.
And I did my DNA, you know, and I found out I was mostly Sicilian, uh, Greek, and I'm like 15% North African.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, uh, Egypt, Morocco, Tunisia. That's why a lot of times I was referred to as ethnically ambiguous. You know,
Yeah.
so when we go to Mexico, people automatically talk to me in Spanish. Thank God I took 4 years of it in high school and college, so I can yo habla español un poquito, you know. But I really think, you know, your parents, your home life, in a lot of ways. Like my dad was born; he had infantile paralysis. He was born in 1906, and his family thought, you know, he was lame. They had crutches, and they were going to put him up as a cobbler. My dad was blessed with a mind and said, I'm going to school. And he became a lawyer.
Right.
And my mom, it was the same thing. So I think those role models let you know that you can attain what you want. You have to have that discipline, though. We talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
How important is it to you that you have that discipline, that you want it enough? You have to have the burn in the belly.
Yeah.
Passion, burn in the belly. If you have the burn in the belly, you're going to find a way.
Yes, I love it. And so has there been anything that's inspired you during this time?
You mean acting wise?
Anything. It doesn't
Anyway,
have to be related to acting.
what's inspired? You know, what's inspired? You know, I love this. I don't know if this is what has inspired me, but I love watching British dramas. I have a thing for like anything British, Father Brown, Sanditon,
Sanditon.
Sanditon. Oh, and you know, are you familiar with Theo James?
No, I'm not.
He's an English actor. He's an English actor. He was in Divergent with Charlene.
I don't think I saw Divergent.
Okay, there was like a series. It was kind of like Hunger Games.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I don't remember.
1, Divergent 2.
Yes,
and
I did see it. I remember.
He was Sidney Parker in Sanditon.
Okay.
And it was just, you know, it was Jane. It's the book that Jane Austen wrote, but she did not finish it. She died before she finished it. So it was the first 10 chapters, I think.
Okay.
That she got. But I look at that acting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In fact, when I was going to Northwestern, I wanted to go to RADA.
Yeah.
I was going to do like a semester in London. Because I think like
it's not too late.
No, I know. I know. You know, I've been looking into it. Central School of Acting too, where Dame Judi Dench went.
Yes.
I mean, like, I think that you know, our acting skills, what, you know, of course, but the British, there's something different. I don't know. Is it that they do a lot more Shakespeare than that we do?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
I think it's because it's part of their foundation. So yeah.
They have that history.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, you know, the one-liners, Downton Abbey, you know, I mean, like, they're precious. So I just love the English acting. There's something about it that's it's so real. It's so organic.
But also the storylines. Their storylines are gripping.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, if it's not love with Jane Austen, a lot of people get murdered. I love Father Brown, Endeavor, all that stuff. There are a lot of great murder mysteries.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why. That makes sense.
Even though you know what though, when you work this stuff for years,
yeah.
I swear, I like, give me a chick flick any day. Sometimes it's like, you know, you could do that.
Need a break, right?
You know, but it's like, hey, I like, you know, the love story with Jane Austen. You know, that's why we're hoping that season 2 of they only did one season of Sanditon because I guess
Okay.
they in the UK they didn't think there was enough interest in it.
Mm.
So everyone was kind of mad, because it didn't end very Jane Austen-esque.
Mhm. Mhm.
So it's sort of like, come on, let's do another one. So it's supposed to end like Jane would want it to.
Ah, I see.
So anyway, that's sort of an inspiration for
Yeah.
me, the English actors to keep with it, and to also the inspiration is to keep with the industry. You don't let it fall, whatever you have to do to bridge that gap because you want to continue the burn in the belly and the passion that you watch, you watch how to do a self-tape. I got to say, I did invest, this is funny. I did invest in one of those big blue screens. Like, here, you're setting it up. I got the ring light, the whole 9 yards, okay? So the other day, I bought this, like, one side's blue, one's green.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in this round little, fits in
Right.
the,
It's like a little
but you
collapsible.
open it up, and it's huge.
Huge.
So I'm trying to fold the damn thing, right? And I can't get it. So I go next door to my neighbor, nice guy, Richard. I said, Richard, can you help me get this thing back? It's a huge thing. So Gloria, just YouTube it. YouTube, how to fold a green screen. So we found it on YouTube. I'm telling you, we played with this thing. It was huge.
That's hilarious, Gloria.
You have one?
I don't. I have like a wall full of curtains.
Oh,
But I
nice.
open them up and close them when I need to. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, this thing, it is like hysterical. It's huge, but somehow you fold it this way and you go over here and you do this, and it comes in this round little form that you put in a little carrying case.
Right.
But I'm, 4'10" and a half, 5, what am I? So, if this thing is like twice as big as this, Richard, will you?
That's hilarious, Gloria.
Two of us.
The green side, you can use it as a green screen. So if whenever you're teaching your students, if you want to have a different background, you put the green side behind you. You could download a couple of different, I don't know, a law library behind you.
See, that's a skill set I got to learn.
It'll come.
Right now, I'm still with the blue,
I know. Oh, that's great. Well, now we know to look forward for Utopia. September 25th, you said? Or?
Yeah, it's premiering. They have it up as September 25th of the first show. Tiwana, do you know how this works? I don't know.
What?
Episodic. Is it like one a week? Or do they sometimes put the whole series up?
Well, because it's on Amazon, it's their choice. So they could put it up once a week, or they could just put everything up to binge.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know which episodes you're in already or no?
Yeah. I know I'm in, I believe. We have to say we believe.
That's true, because we never know what can happen with the editing.
The third episode and the fifth episode.
All right.
Maybe the second. Sometimes I think they take scenes that maybe they described as in the second, they put them in the third, or they
around.
Not sure. But I hopefully I made it to a couple of episodes.
I'm sure you have, because you're great to watch on the screen.
Oh, well, so thank you.
Yeah. So we will look forward to seeing you on Utopia.
Time's up already.
It's up already.
Thank
you, Gloria. This is a great conversation. Mostly my fascination is with law. And I was actually, before I came back to acting, because my story is kind of like yours, back and forth and back and forth.
Yeah.
I was going to be a forensic psychiatrist. And I saw the movie Copycat with Sigourney Weaver and Harry Connick Jr. She was a forensic psychiatrist. He was a copycat serial killer, and he was stalking her. And I said, nope. I'm just going to go back to acting. Not going to do that.
Well, Tiwana, as we know, as actors, sometimes it may be difficult to make a living. You can support yourself as an actor.
Yeah.
So you do something in order to allow you to instill yourself in your artistry, which we love. So can I leave you with this thought?
Yes, give it to me.
Ask you your age, because that's irrelevant.
Yeah, I don't care. I just turned 50.
Okay, you're going to be that age anyway. You're going to be like, so if you ever want to go back. and do something.
It's been in my mind. That's why I keep asking questions about it.
Just so you know, I graduated with someone who was 65 from law school.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
That's great.
65.
Love it. Thank
Okay,
you.
so it's, just feel that belt burn in the belly.
Yes.
Passion is what we're all about. Or we wouldn't be here. Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Creatives in Quarantine. Be sure to catch Gloria Coco on Amazon's new show, Utopia, airing September 25th. And hey, don't forget to subscribe, like, share, especially if you liked what you heard here. See you next time.